We are the church. Beyond Sunday. Beyond Sunday. Yes, we are. We love Beyond Sunday.
Hi, I'm Ginger I'm the pastor here at Wheeler United Methodist Church, and I'm glad to be with you this evening.
I'm McKenzie Wyatt-Hartgrove, and I attend Wheeler, and I am a mental health therapist.
Today, our conversation will be a bit different because we didn't have a sermon on Sunday. The choir performed their cantata, so we had the Christmas story and song, which was absolutely wonderful. But there is always something to talk about, and I did want us to talk about an upcoming service that many of you might find helpful if you are in the vicinity of Wheeler United Methodist Church. Just briefly, on Sunday night, the 21st, we will be having a Blue Christmas service. A Blue Christmas service is designed especially for those who struggle to find joy during the holiday season. It will be at 6 o'clock, and it will be in the sanctuary. And at the end of our segment today, I want to come back and say a few more words about it, just with a little bit more detail. So stick around after our conversation for that. As we were planning tonight, or today's segment, we knew that we would have to have something in the interim between the Sundays where there were sermons. And so I mentioned the Blue Christmas service and talking about grief during the holiday season. I told Mackenzie the other day, this is very timely. I lost my mother on December the 9th. And as you are listening to this, we will be laying her to rest and celebrating her life. So as we're coming together to talk about grief, I need this as much as you do. And it's not just grief because of the loss of someone. There are many reasons that people struggle during the holiday season. And so we want to touch on all of those. Mackenzie, as we're thinking about the holidays and people having difficulty, I've heard several in the congregation just comment that they have trouble enjoying the holidays anymore for a number of reasons. And sometimes they can't even name what the reason is. Do you think that's been on the increase in recent years?
I would think so. I think social media has a big part to play in that. I think we see a lot of picture perfect things online, and we think that we're supposed to have that. And perfect doesn't exist for us. Our lives are messy, and I think when we often compare ourselves with what we should be doing, what we should be feeling, experiencing, that guilt sinks in, and it can just kind of create a lot of various feelings inside ourselves.
Okay. I was looking at some information online. Let me pull that up here if I can get my about some numbers, and this is from the American Psychological Association, and this was a 2023 survey they did, in which they found that 89% of American adults say that they are concerned about not having enough money, missing loved ones, and anticipating family conflict, and so their stress levels increase during the holiday season. And then another of that 49% would describe their stress levels during the traditional U.S. holiday season. My phone. Between November and January as moderate, around 2 and 5, 41% said their stress level increases during this time compared with other times of the year. But then there's 43% that said their stress level during the holidays interferes with their ability to enjoy them. And 36% said the holidays feels like a competition. You think that's pretty accurate?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Very much so.
What are some of the reasons? You mentioned, of course, this picture perfect image that we're given on Facebook, and of course in the conversations we have with friends, this kind of the competition that's mentioned in here, that if so-and-so's doing this, well, we feel like we need to do it too. And of course, sometimes grandparents competing against each other for who gets the most for the kids and whatever the kids want the most. And so there are a lot of competitions, but what are other reasons that people struggle during the holidays?
I think just the high level of expectation. We want to better ourselves and top ourselves from the year before even, and just again, this is idealized what Christmas should be, what it should look like, versus the true meaning behind Christmas.
Mhm.
I think that gets lost, and I think it creates this overwhelming abundance of stress of what we are should be trying to create.
Okay.
So I think our message sometimes gets lost,
Yeah.
and I think that creates a turmoil
Yeah.
inside of us too.
Yeah. Let's talk for a minute about those more, not necessarily serious, but those more personal reasons that people struggle. The obvious one, of course, is grief
Mm-hmm.
and the loss of family members. What do you say to those that are dealing with, especially that first year after a loss is always the hardest?
Mm-hmm.
What do you say to those who are dealing with grief during the holiday season? And when do they need to be aware that it's more than just your normal grief, but it's what compounded grief where it's debilitating for them.
Mm-hmm. I think I'll start with that part. Like when it's kind of seemingly going too far. I think severe isolation, when you notice that you are intentionally staying away from other people, you're maybe not taking care of yourself how you typically do, not showering, or bathing of any sorts, eating. I think when you recognize that that pattern of your routine is gone, we're in like code red,
Okay.
severe. Um, we'll need mental health intervention, professional intervention. Um, what was the first part of that question again?
How do when you're navigating grief through the holidays, especially that first or second
The
year,
first
even,
one.
how do you get through that when you don't feel like getting out and having a good time with even your own family or your church family or your community, the office party? You don't want to do that because everybody's going to be having a good time and you're just not wanting to have a good time. You
Yeah,
don't feel like you can have a good time.
yeah. I think communication is very important in that instance, and boundaries are extremely
Okay.
important during this time. It is okay to say no to going to the party, to participating in some festivity. It's okay to say no in those instances. But I think it's also important to reach out to people, especially ones that you're close to, and you know that you can say, this is why I don't feel like going.
Mm-hmm.
So I think holding on to some communication with your loved ones versus cutting off that communication and allowing yourself to say no to some things. It is okay to not go somewhere, to not participate in that. It is okay to have some solitude time,
Yeah.
but being mindful of when it turns into isolation.
Yeah. And we make ourselves feel guilty about that solitude time. I think
Mm-hmm.
um, afraid we're going to offend somebody if we don't show up at their party. But most of our friends and family would be very understanding
Yes.
if we just communicate, like you said.
I think when it's talked about, there is a level of understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when we think about how we've experienced grief, we can be more open to this person is actively grieving.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I felt that way.
Yeah.
I can offer them grace in this situation. I'm not going to be offended that someone didn't come to my party. They needed some time to themselves. So I think on the opposite side of not the person grieving, but their support system is just being open to what they need during that time, and offer to open the door to that communication, because it can be hard to reach out on your own when you are the person grieving.
Okay. There are other reasons besides grief. A lot of people are lonely. Maybe they're not married or they're in a community that no family is here. They've not made a lot of friends yet. People who suffer from addiction,
Mm-hmm.
recovering from addiction,
Mm-hmm.
those who have been victimized for various reasons. I mean, there are quite a few reasons why people struggle during the holiday season. What do you say to those outside of the grief experience, those that are suffering for other reasons? What would you say to them about how to get through the holiday season?
I think I think community is very important, and it's very hard when you don't have that already established. I do think the holidays like open up a very good opportunity to
Hmm.
create that.
Okay.
If you look around online or even like around town, there are events happening. If that is something that you're wanting to get involved in and find some people,
Hmm.
that is one good thing that comes with the holidays, is that there are all kinds of events going on. I think being an addiction work myself, it is a very difficult time for people. Holidays
Imagine.
is one of the highest levels of relapse.
Yeah.
So I think in those times, again, that community, if someone has been sober for a while, they know what that sober network looks like.
Okay.
They know what works for them, meetings. There's also an increase in various sobriety meetings at this time of year too. So I think if you are someone who is missing the people part, it is a good chance to look out into your community and find different people that aren't your family.
Mhm.
Maybe not people that you've, experienced before, if you don't have a friend group, things like that. So I do think there is a positive that comes with the holidays, is that there is an influx of that happening.
Right.
It does take some effort though, and that is sometimes the kicker for people, is
Yeah.
that little push of effort into
Yeah.
finding some of your people.
Yeah. Especially if you're an introvert,
Yes, it's so
and
hard.
you're uncomfortable with strangers to begin with,
Yes, it's very
especially
hard.
with that added stress,
Yes.
that's hard. But yeah,
I,
go ahead.
oh, sorry. I think sometimes it can also, you can find like any group imaginable on Facebook.
Oh yeah.
So if you
Oh yeah.
have like a niche hobby,
Yeah.
look for those people on Facebook, because there's all sorts of local groups for anything you could imagine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think if you do have something like that you're interested in,
That's a good idea.
look into those. See if there's any meetups or whatever, safely, of course.
Yes. Yeah.
But I think that's also a good area too, is if you do have something that you're already interested in, that can be an avenue for that too.
So social media is not all bad.
It is not all bad.
It has its positives.
I shouldn't have started
Oh
with
no,
that. Maybe.
no. I mean, it's a love-hate relationship.
It is.
It
It is
really
such a
is.
good
It
thing.
really is.
It's
So,
such a good thing, but also,
yeah. And I think there may be also an app called Meetup, I think, that has, like, you can look for groups that you're interested in,
maybe,
shared interests.
I don't know.
There are some apps for that out there. I can't remember what they are, but yeah. So
Yeah.
one thing that as you were talking made me think of something. When I was in another town and serving another church, there were quite a few people in that town that didn't have any family in the community, and so this one couple took it upon themselves. I'd say they brought in all the strays.
Mhm.
They invited people to their house all the time, and Christmas time they would invite them. In fact, last night and tonight they had she's now deceased, but George had his annual reading of the Christmas Carol, in which they always invite people from the community. But at Thanksgiving, they would invite people who didn't have family members there to come and have Thanksgiving dinner, and the same thing at Christmas time even.
Yeah.
And it's funny because after I moved to Chattanooga, and this was a couple of years after I lost my husband, um, I wasn't planning to go home for Christmas. I was going to just stay in Chattanooga, but their daughter found out I wasn't going home, and so they rearranged their schedule so I could be there with them on Christmas Day. And what was really neat was that they put it when they set the table. There were too many places, and I said something about it, and so Dorothy took away plates, and we sat down, and there was still one plate left that was not nobody sitting there. And so what we did was we all went around the table and mentioned someone we wished were sitting at that table in that space. So that was kind of a neat experience to do that.
Yeah,
so, but,
I love that.
But yeah, it was just nice to be included.
Mhm.
When I was a stranger there in the town and didn't have family there. And of course, that wasn't that far from family, but my family's all in church work. It's hard to get together.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. So.
I think that's a good message for the people who may not be struggling right now.
Yeah.
Look for the people who are. Look for the people who are, and care for them, because there's going to be a day we're in that position.
Yeah.
I mean, grief, mental health concern, like any of those things, they come to us at some point. And so I think offering that love to someone else when you see it is such a big part.
Which means we have to be attentive as
Absolutely.
we're out and about. We have to watch for people that look like they're struggling, and just we don't have to be nosy, but just speak to them and say, is everything okay? And be open to them spilling their guts if they need to.
Yeah.
Just to be present with them.
Yes.
And sometimes that presents some wonderful opportunities. On that note, what do you say to friends and family who are walking that journey with a loved one who's struggling? Because I know sometimes we tend to say the wrong things. We tend to feel like we're supposed to make them joyful and happy. What do you say to someone who is walking that journey with their loved ones, about how to really come to their side and help them through this.
I think I mentioned earlier, like reaching out 1st, not waiting for your family or friend to come to you, because there is that's sometimes just impossible for that person. So I think making sure to check in on your people, as often as you feel like you need to. I think a lot of times we feel called to call people and
Yeah.
check on them. So I think also genuinely offering help if it's needed. I think we get in a routine of like, let me know if you need anything.
Yeah.
Let me know if I can help you. So if you see the struggle, offer to do that thing for them.
Yeah.
If you know that they're having a hard time maybe eating, go have a meal with them. Take them a meal. Maybe take them enough to have a couple meals. If you know that they're not doing their laundry, offer to do that. And you may have to be pushy and not take no for an answer, because we do get prideful and not wanting people to see our ugly.
Right.
So I think acknowledging the ugly and let me love you. I see this. I know this is happening for you. Let me love you anyway. So I think pushing it a little bit while also protecting boundaries.
Right.
It's a difficult dance.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think if we know our people are hurting, acknowledge it. It's okay to talk about it. I think we often feel like we can't talk about what's happened, but sometimes that's what that person needs the most, is just to be seen and know, like, I know you are hurting right now. Let's talk about it. If you want to tell me about the person you lost, let's talk about them. If you need to talk about the job you lost, let's rant together. I think just seeing
Go
people,
axe throwing.
do something, do something crazy.
Yeah.
But
I always wanted to do that.
but just calling it as it is. I think feeling seen is one of the most healing things for people.
That's great. That's good. And sometimes too, it's just being present and not saying anything. Just we call that in spiritual formation, we call that holding space, and just holding space with someone, and just in that silence, and when they want to say something, fine. But if they don't, sometimes you'll know when it's right to say something. But in that silence, just be offering prayers for them and just be with them so that they know they're not alone.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Those are some excellent suggestions there, and I think that's good for us to remember that. What are some things that we shouldn't say to someone who is grieving, someone who is struggling, someone who's that's just really going through those doldrums? I love the word melancholy. I wish we used it more here in the United States. It's a good word. But those who are in that spirit of melancholy, what are some things we should not say to them?
I think it comes with the expectation of we think this person should act this way, and pushing them to do that. They would want you to be happy. You should be happy. It's Christmas. Like, just perpetuating this false narrative of joy for them. It's okay to not be happy. It's okay to not want to do those things. So I think just being very mindful of not pushing what you think they should be doing onto them. But again, just acknowledge their struggle. That doesn't mean you have to fix their struggle. You can be there with them in it. So again, not pushing the narrative of you should be happy. This is Christmas. Just put a smile on your face. It'll be fine. Just staying away from that expectation.
I think sometimes we do that because we're uncomfortable with our own expressions of grief and struggle, and so it's a way for us to just kind of smooth that over ourselves and cover that over ourselves, so that we're not having to deal with it ourselves. And so it's good.
And I think one of the most kind things you can do, if you are that person who doesn't know what to say, is to say, I do not know what to say right now. I'm sorry, I don't know what to say, but call attention to it, that uncomfortableness, because they're probably feeling it also. And sometimes that opens the door for a better conversation.
Yeah, that does. That's good. That's good. Anything else that you would say to those that are struggling, or those that are walking alongside those that are struggling?
I think we just have to offer grace on both sides. I think just being aware of what others are going through, and I think an important part is also letting people help you and see, like I said earlier, the ugly. That's a hard shield to let down, but it really does help with healing.
Yeah. Good. I know there's a few things I've looked at some resources and just some practical kind of tangible things that sometimes people do. And I mentioned a while ago the accidental extra seat at the table and how we all fell into that and shared who we wish were sitting at that place. But um, after my husband passed away, I would find myself still every now and then buying something he would want,
Yeah.
and so buy them a gift and then gift it to someone else,
Yeah.
or do something in honor or memory of them as a way to remember them during the holidays, if it's someone you've lost.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be a family. It can be a close friend, a colleague, someone that's
A pet.
Oh gosh, yes. Let's not go
Yes.
there. So because I mean,
Yeah.
I've heard and I some ways I believe it that you really grieve a pet more than you do people because they do love you unconditionally. And so yes, a pet definitely.
Yes.
And one of my colleagues actually has a ministry for grieving for those who've lost a pet. And I thought, what a unique ministry.
It's an important one,
Oh
though.
gosh, yes, yeah. And so, just there are some practical things you can do, tangible things you can do. Put their favorite ornament someplace where you see it.
Yeah.
And tell stories. Don't be afraid to tell the stories. And I think that's what people are afraid sometimes to talk about someone who has passed away, afraid they'll hurt the person. We love to hear this, how they were impacted by those we love.
The hurt comes in when we pretend like they weren't there.
Yeah.
I think holidays are a season of tradition. We have all these things that we do every year.
Yeah.
And it's also okay if those change.
Yeah.
If you had something that you did with a special somebody, you can do it in a different way.
Yeah.
That's okay. And you can still bring like honor and an acknowledgement to that person. So I think also letting yourself be flexible in if you want to uphold a tradition, it can look a little different and that's okay.
Yeah.
And I think we can notice and feel our loved ones with us when it comes to that kind of grief and doing something special. If you know that there's a song, put that song on repeat if you need to.
Yeah. And cry if you need to.
Cry. Yes, let yourself cry.
Yeah.
But just those traditions like that, if you did make ornaments together, keep doing that. Make one for them. Write letters. Talk about them. Whatever you feel will acknowledge your person.
Use their recipes or prepare the family dish that's been passed down for generations. Yeah. And if it's someone, like for instance, someone who's lonely, let them talk about, their home and their family at home and what it was they loved about their home and what they miss and, how can we help them make this feel like home? What are some things we can do to help them? And so just being sensitive to what people are going through. So yeah. Well, thank you. I want to just say briefly, say a brief word about the Blue Christmas service that will take place on the 21st here in the sanctuary at Wheeler United Methodist Church. We're at 211 North Sanders Street. Had to remember the street. Right close to the Tri-Cities Airport and right across from Northeast State Northeast State Community College. The Blue Christmas service, those started in the late 1990s as churches began to recognize that not everybody was joyful during the holiday season and wanted to provide a way for them to come and to worship and to have a place to just experience their feelings and not feel pressured into to being joyful. It's a place of quiet. It will be a very different service. There'll be a lot of silence and reflective time. There will be some candle lighting with some prayers. Sometimes there might be something that you can do that is tangible that you can take with you, a way to release whatever you're struggling with. But it really is a time of hopefully healing for those who participate. It is not meant to manipulate you into being joyful. That is not it at all. It is all about what you're experiencing at that moment in time and giving you a safe space to feel what you're feeling, to own your feelings without anybody trying to tell you that your feelings are not valid. Whatever you're going through is valid. And so we want to honor that. So consider that. That's December the 21st. That is the winter solstice, which is the traditional time to hold that. Because it is the night that is the least amount of, that's the shortest day of the year, so the longest night of the year. And so you have the most darkness. And this is a period of feeling like you are in darkness. So we hope you'll consider coming to that. If you don't need it, but you know someone who does and you're in the area, invite them and bring them. Don't just invite them and tell them to go, but invite them and bring them. And sit with them, hold space for them during that worship service. That will be very important for them. We thank you for being with us this evening, and we look forward to next week returning to our sermon series. The next word, I believe, is openness. And so look forward to sharing that with you next week. Bye-bye.
Beyond Sunday, beyond Sunday, beyond Sunday.